Hello. Today's topic is going to be screen addiction, and in particular for youth of today. Back in 1998, shortly after graduate school, I started working with a family, and the kid had every single possible label you could think of. And he was catatonic, laying in his bed most of the day, refusing to go to school, full of anxiety and depression, ADHD, social difficulties, the list goes on. I started mentoring him. I started knowing naturally what I needed to do to build a relationship, getting up and moving, starting to get tasks accomplished. That kid ended up blossoming, and he's super grateful for the work that we did way back when. That's how all these programs started for Mentors and More. It began with mentoring that led to parent coaching, then family coaching, and then to every other program that we have. The professionals that had worked with that family recognized the improvements, and then everything proliferated from there. But the major theme that I want to focus in on was even way back then, screen addiction was in play, and it did major damage. Even as antiquated as that is, back then it still was a powerful allure. And what it did was it increased preferences. You could add, adjust, and delete. You can start fresh. You had all this power and control and freedom and access and opportunity. It's incredibly tempting. And you guys already know this. I could talk all day about all the consequences of this, but what today's intent is to focus in on our perspective from 25 plus years of working with families and kids that are struggling through screen addiction, and then also to lend some hope and some game plan, some foundation for a new and improved philosophy, system, and approach. I want to first start with the 5 precursors to any addictive-based behavior, irresponsible, or aggression: boredom, loneliness, disappointment, disapproval, and discouragement. The 5 troublemakers. Nothing wrong with any of these. The problem becomes if you don't pivot properly from them. If you choose to be reactive and either be passive to them or aggressive or passive aggressive, you will cause more problems, or you'll cause the existing problem to become exponentially worse. It is vital that you learn to rectify those for anyone at any age, anywhere in the world. For kids these days, unfortunately, they don't have anything to juxtapose or contrast with. They've only known screens from day one. Plus, you throw in those COVID years, and there's such a tsunami of power and force saying screens, screens, screens. You can't build relationships. You can't maintain relationships. And if you can't do that, then it's going to be really tough to conquer that loneliness. It's not like the old days. Some neighborhoods have it, but for the most part, kids are not playing. They're not building friendships. They're not learning how to endure. They're not learning how to be empathic or merciful or forgiving or all the things that you need to build solid relationships. They're online all day long. If your kid's not online, you take away their privileges, their opportunities, then they can't keep up with the Joneses. And if they can't keep up with the Joneses, they get left behind. That's just one part of the problem. Those 5 troublemakers need to be accounted for at all times. Those are a primary target. Help your kid to not be bored. Here's an exercise. Sit down with your kid, sit down with your family, and come up with 15 to 20 different activities that one kid could do on his own. What is it? Build something, fix something, create something, read something, make something, study something, exercise, move, whatever it is. 15 to 20 different activities. Then something they could do with their siblings, same exact list, with a parent, with parents, with family, out in the community, and with friends. You get all that organized, and then it helps a whole bunch. So there's less like, I don't know what to do, or I don't want to do that. This is part of the process. Putting it into a system that they need to be held accountable. You say, hey, go do these 3 things, prove it to me that you got them done, and then this is the screen time that you can earn. Unfortunately, what I'm about to say, I'm not a big fan of, but it is what it is. You have to treat these kids these days as functioning addicts. They need to learn to responsibly moderate and balance their usage to be appropriate with the content. But in order to do that, most of them can't do it on their own volition. They need your guardrails. They need your accountability. They need your support and your structure. And that gets real dicey, as you already know. Every single time you say, no, you can't have this, or stop doing what they prefer to do, or go do something they don't prefer, you're at war. There's a battle going on, and they drag you into their stadium with their rules, with their fans, their implements, and their referees. You can't win. They are hyper-focused, fixated on getting their fix. That means you're battling up against all of their energies, all of their resources, all of their skills in order to try to turn your no into a yes or turn your yes into a no. That's the battle that takes place every single day. You already know that if you're in the middle of it. Every single day, there might be 5, 10, 15 scenarios where you're in this no, stop, or go battlefield. How you manage that is key. And I'm going to tell you right now, it is imperative if you're going to be a good leader to your children in order to help them through screen addiction to become better functioning, you're going to have to be empathic. And empathic means as much as possible, you have to put yourself in a mindset, an emotional state of feeling exactly what it is that they're feeling. Being told no or stop when they want to do something that feels so good, that's so satisfactory, that keeps their head above water. Being empathic, it's not just articulating, saying, oh gosh, that stinks, I'm sorry you're going through that, or I get it, or I have a story that references to understanding what you're going through. It's actually being in that feeling state. Your kids know. They know what you're feeling. They know what you're thinking. They know when you're being genuine. And if you're not honoring that moment, then you're causing more of a bridge to collapse. You want to do whatever you can to connect. And from there, they're going to feel like, okay, at least you understand somewhat what I'm going through. And then therefore, you're going to be more merciful. You're going to be more understanding, more compassionate. Still hold them accountable. Still say, hey, you're still going to need to do A, B, C, D, and E. But ultimately, they know that you're more of an ally and less of an enemy. And that's so vital. I know it's tough. I know it's rough. These kids these days, we all have our reactions. We could be darn right hostile. We could be apathetic. We could do a lot of stuff. And it's rough. But you got to learn to absorb and metabolize all that. That's what a good leader does. They take the hits. They sift through it. They glean the good. And they get their message right. And then they approach in the best possible manner to lead or guide or teach or train whoever it is to be able to march forward. That's your responsibility as a leader. Back to kids and screen addiction. Unfortunately, so many kids are struggling. They're at a deficit. And when they're at a deficit, the more unfulfilled need they have, the more they're seeking, just let me have a little bit of satisfaction, just a little bit. I don't care what happens around it. I don't care how much negativity comes my way. I just want my fix. I need the neurotransmission just to feel good for a moment or two. So many kids are walking around depressed and they're really struggling. So many kids are staying up all night and playing on the screens, talking to their people. You already know what all this is. Everything informs the other thing. And so many are struggling because they're at a deficit all day long, every day. And when you think about that for a moment, when you're struggling, say when you're really cold, the colder you get, the more you think about what? Getting warmer or getting hot. The colder you are, the more desperate you get to do whatever it takes to get hot. The colder you are, the more uncomfortable you are. The more uncomfortable you are, the more flooding of all this discomfort, it gets in the way of your ability to think logically and make wise decisions. That, unfortunately, causes an overshoot, an overcompensation to go to an extreme. And that's what a lot of the kids are doing. When they feel like they're at a deficit, the more that deficit exists, the deeper it gets, the more negative, the more overwhelming, the more desperate, the more extreme, the more irrational the behavior is. And so you have to account for that. You know, as a leader of your kids, when they're struggling and at a deficit, and you most of the time, I presume, are going to know how bad it is for them. And you have to prepare yourself for that battle. You have to know how bad it is for your kid and be prepared that they're going to do an extreme behavior. When it comes to their behavior, I want you to think about these 5 categories. You want to assess the form of their behavior. What is it in particular? Is it arguing? Is it badgering? Is it a manipulative ploy? Is it calling you a name? Is it telling you you're the worst parent in the history of parenting? Whatever it may be, that's the form, right? Then you got the intensity level. The intensity level, the way you measure it is 10 being the highest that you've ever experienced with them. You don't compare and contrast with anybody else's behavior. You focus in on what the most is that you've ever seen, the intensity level of their expressions. Another is the frequency. How often are they doing it? And another is the duration. How long an extension of these behaviors of being negative or being an addictive type of mode. And then the final one is the outcome. When the outcome of their behavior, what is it? What's the damage that's left? And I want you to consider these areas. This is a good exercise as well. What kind of thoughts do you have when they're acting the way they're acting in addictive mode? What kind of emotions do you end up experiencing in those scenarios? What kind of behaviors do you do in reaction? And then also what kind of messages do you send? Think about those four main categories. There's a lot of good data there. And in addition, I want you to do the same thing for your child. What is it likely that they're thinking in that scenario? What emotions are they experiencing? What behaviors and what kind of messaging as well? That's a good foundation. There's a lot of important things that you could glean from that. Then in those scenarios, you want to come up with a game plan for yourself. What is it that the ideal response is from the way that I think and the way that I behave and the way that I communicate? That's where I could be of help. I'm going to try to put out more videos. We have a screen guidebooks for you available at mentorsandmore.com. I'm going to try to pump out as many resources as possible so that you have that support. And as always, if you need additional support, hit me up. We could start a group strategy session or individually. It doesn't matter. Whatever it is that you need, I want to be an asset in your life. Some of you guys are in really bad circumstances. Some of you guys are trapped and stuck in a bad cycle and you're being tortured. And keep this in mind, just as much as you're being tortured, so are your children. Unfortunately, they're super oppressed by what's going on. And like I said earlier, the tsunami, the power of this addiction is through the roof. It's devastating. It's just like any other addiction. And addiction is, just to be clear, you connect to something because it feels good for a moment or two, and then it has all this other negative stuff with it. And when you're in addictive mode, nothing else matters. And as I said in many other videos, you either choose love or addiction. You choose responsible or irresponsible, healthy or unhealthy. So many kids these days don't want to know what it looks like to take that positive and implement it in their own life. They don't know how to think, say, or do in a positive manner with intention. They've lost their endurance, or they haven't built up their endurance to be able to persevere through difficult scenarios. They don't have the mental agility or flexibility or versatility or strength to be able to navigate certain areas or certain scenarios with certain people. And the reason why is it's been dormant. It's been deactivated. They're not training. And so many parents are saying, it's not worth the battle. It's too difficult. It's too overwhelming. I feel bad for them. They're awkward. They have difficulties. They have anxiety. They're depressed. Whatever it is that becomes rationale to say, all right, have more screens, have more screen time. You're complicit in the process, and it's getting worse. And every single step that they take in that direction with the addiction makes it doubly more difficult to do the responsible thing, the intentional thing, the purposeful thing. So much of what your job is as a leader is promoting. You're trying your best to influence them to make the wisest possible decisions to accomplish tasks and activities. That's it. That's what a leader does. The leader cannot control. They can't manage. You can't. All you are is a salesperson or a messenger, and you're trying your best to find a way to customize messages that influences them to be capable and willing to do what it takes to love themselves and love others. It's really that simple. These kids today that are struggling with addiction, the screen addiction, any kind of addiction, they said no to love. And they may have said no to love because there wasn't enough love, or they don't think there's enough, or they don't think they're worthy, or a whole bunch of other reasons. Think about what that is. Think about going through a lifetime and not prioritizing being loving, being loved, and loving yourself. Unfortunately, that's the reality for so many people. And that's sad, because really, honestly, you might be the best this, the best bat, whatever else. You can be adept at this. You can get all the attention and approval and acceptance and whatever else. It doesn't matter. What you really want is love. And love is whatever it is that you need to be fulfilled and comfortable and be able to function and move forward, to be intentional, to produce, and to contribute. With all that being said, I want you to think about that. If you're going to remove access and opportunity with screens, something has to fill that gap. Every single week, you have about 100 waking hours. That's a nice, clean, even number. I love that number. It's a beautiful number, right? How much of that volume do you want them on screens? How much of that volume do you want them studying? How much do you want it working, contributing, accomplishing tasks, building new things? Here's the key. You have to figure out what it is that your kid, as much as you can, evaluate and say, okay, what are they naturally adept at? What kind of skill set do they have? What do they have to offer to life? What's their purpose? What's their mission? What's their legacy ideally going to be? And everything that you have should orient and move, pushing them towards developing and mastering that. Them just saying no and disciplining them and giving them the consequences and rewards and that whole system, it's helpful, it's necessary, you need it, no doubt. But ultimately, they're still going to be difficult for them. They need to know what it is that they're supposed to be doing, and everything needs to push towards that. We all have that within us. If we choose to be addicted, if we choose to partake in this stuff, where it's like having a plate full of food that has nice roasted chicken, some broccoli and some spinach, and then a bunch of garbage on it. It's a mixed bag. Some of the kids' plates that they're eating is just all garbage. You know this. I promise you. I've worked with thousands and thousands of kids throughout the years. What do they like to eat? Carbohydrates. That's it. Tell me I'm wrong. They love carbohydrates. Same thing, short-term satisfaction, and then the consequences that go with it. Carbohydrates are important. You need them for sure, but they need to be balanced out with the other nutritious aspects of a diet. And the same thing for those 100 hours. What is the proper balance of things that they're doing on their own and then relationally? What kind of things? Give them challenges. Here's one of my favorite things, and it does involve screens. Give them projects where you say, hey, produce a 1-minute video that explains what a healthy boundary in a relationship looks like. Produce a 2-minute video that you share with our family, and go nuts. Let them be as creative as possible. Let them do all the things. Let them do the research and answer the question of, what does it take to be at peace? What does it take to be content? What is fulfillment? Whatever. Give them these assignments. One of my favorite things as well, every single day as a family, you should be having the word of the day. And it needs to be a concept that's a beneficial one, like peace or joy or freedom or purpose, significance. Define it, describe it, talk about it. End of the year, you got 365 concepts that these kids are going to be well versed in. You have to promote fulfillment and intentionality and positivity. It's not going to happen. Lots of families say, well, they're doing well enough in school, and that's all I'm going to focus on. You're not focusing on the whole entire rest of their lives. Honor those 100 hours. Do everything in your power. And trust me, I am very aware of how difficult it is. I am very aware of what it looks like behind closed doors. So many families are being tortured. Everyone, no one's winning. And it's a big secret. It's quiet. Oh, he's the best kid out in the community. Oh, he looks me in my eyes and talks directly to me and asks me questions and takes interest in my life. Oh, they're a great student. Oh, they get along with everyone. Everything's wonderful. Then they come home and they crash. All that energy that they had to summon up to be on point and be responsible and respectful goes out the window. They're exhausted. And when they're exhausted, they're going to dump all that negativity somewhere. And unfortunately, lots of us think that being on screens is a soothing. It's not. It's an adjutant. That's complete opposite. It appears as though it's a soothing, and it is for a moment, and then it agitates you. These kids, with social media, without even thinking about it consciously, are comparing their worst against the world's best. Not only are they comparing their worst with the best of all time. When we go on screens, we're looking for perfection or greatness or excellence. We're looking to see, most of us, most of the time, we want to see exemplary type stuff. When we see that, we relish it. It's, oh, wow, that's cool, that's awesome. Blah, 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 blah. But then if we stop and think about it, or we don't think about it, it's still affecting our subconscious and our unconscious. The math turns out, I can't do that. No matter how hard I tried, I can't do 4 flips. No matter how hard I can't juggle all these different things. Likes, subscribers, all those things. Every single time, unless your kid's really doing well with certain things, and even then, most of us are comparing our worst or even our best against other people's best, and then the sum total is deprivation, deficit, negative. Your child needs to learn how to manage themselves as best as possible in every single scenario. They may do well with 5 to 10 to 15 to 20 different scenarios each and every day, and then they have those difficult ones. They may be in reverse. They may be only adept at 1, 2, 3, or 4 or 5 scenarios. And that's another trap as well about screen addiction. They become so good. You make decisions, you problem solve, you have to critically think. There's a learning process. It's a very engaging thing. They make the video games to get to the point where everything possible to try to make it as fun and exciting and fulfilling as possible. Here's the problem, though. It's a template that's already been established. So you're basically being programmed into jumping through their hoops. Even those video games where you have options to choose, there's still a structure around it. I'm telling you right now, every single one of us, your kids included, have way more potential. They have something that they can create. They are leaders. They are strong. They are capable, but they have to maximize that. And in order to do that, they have to say no to the garbage and yes to the good stuff. They have to say yes to the good stuff, even when they don't like it. They will learn to like it. They will learn to extend the amount of effort and work and overcoming obstacles and fears and doing the uncomfortable stuff and then getting to the prize. That's the fulfillment of being a human, is challenging ourselves to hit our capacities. And it goes for everybody. Way too many of us have this dormant aspect of we're not doing anywhere near enough to explore fully who we are and what we're supposed to offer to the world. Think about that. If you're not offering, then you're taking. And when you're taking, you're robbing, and you're putting yourself in a bad position. These kids know, many of them, that they don't want to be on screens all the time. But then they look and they go, what's the other alternative? Promote your kids. Do whatever you can to influence them to be leaders. Do whatever they can to get kids together, projects. Kids, I don't care if they're 5, 10, 15, 20, could do a lot more than they typically do. They just need the proper training. They need the role modeling. They need the guidance. They need the structure, and they need the discipline and accountability. You are in position to do that. What's more important? I know you're tired. I know you're overwhelmed. I know you're stressed out. I know you don't have all the answers all the time, but I'm trying to inspire you to think outside of the box, to not fall trapped to the program the way it is, and to think differently. And like I said, I'm an asset or ally in your life. I'll do whatever I can possibly to help you through this type of stuff. I'm leaving out lots of stuff because I can't download all of it to you. And frankly, you guys need a personal, customized approach and system, and your kids are different. Principally, we're all the same as humans. I get that, you get that, but ultimately there needs to be a specific nurturance of exactly what each of you needs in a particular manner that you need it. With all that being said, I get fired up about this because I see the damage. I see it when kids are kids. I see it when they're adolescents. I see it when they're in college age, if they get to college, and then I see it thereafter. I work with many families in our launch program where they have 20-somethings that are still at home doing nothing, and parents are putting all their money towards them just surviving. I've seen them in their 30s and in their 40s. You guys have seen it as well. It's rough, but there's a way out of it. I promise. Many, many families. I'm working with 5 families currently right now doing the parent coaching and the family coaching. I've seen remarkable progress in just the last couple of weeks. You have to have courage. You have to take a leap of faith. You have to do something different. In order to do all that, that means you have to say no to the way you've been operating. You have to take away the justification, the familiarity and the predictability, and you have to take a leap of faith into the unknown. I'm going to give you everything I possibly can to help it make it more known so that you could expect what that ride's going to look like and what will happen thereafter. But still, it's a huge leap of faith. When you clear out space, the fear is something worse will come flushing in. It's comfortable. There's a sense of control in the way that it is. But if you truly, really, really want better for yourselves and for your kids and your family, if you really want that win-win-win for everybody that's involved, you're going to have to do something drastically different. The worse off it is, the more you're going to have to do. That's the unfortunate part of this thing. In life, It's a principle. If you do this, this will be the consequence. And when you've been doing something the wrong way, or someone's been doing something the wrong way, every single repetition, revolution that you do that is reinforcing a bad pattern or dynamic. That makes it worse and worse and worse. And it feels like, gosh, I got to suffer for that. And then I got to suffer for the change process. Yes, you can't avoid that. I don't care what people are trying to sell you. I don't care about this alternative or that alternative. You have to do the hard work at some point in some way. The good news is that there is a path through this. I've seen many people get to that point. I've seen many kids get to that point. Some families send them off to wilderness or treatment programs or boarding schools or whatever else. I've seen it all too often. It helps temporarily. Kids super motivated, doing well, and then they come back in the real jungle. And the first day, yeah, they're real motivated and they're cleaning up their room and they're contributing and they're respectful. Next day, it's a little bit less. Next day, it's hard. It's rough out there. You know all this. I hope that they find some encouragement in this message here today. And like I said, make your comments, throw out the questions, hit me up if you need to be. If I'm telling you right now, go to our website and download the screen guidebooks. There's a couple of them. One a shorter version, one's a longer version. There's lots of good information in there. I'm going to be pumping out more and more videos about lots of topics, and in particular this one, because I see it wreaking havoc. I just got off a phone call today with a mom. Her son is suicidal because they're messing up, irresponsible usage of the phone, messing up at school, messing up. Well, yeah, I could go on. I'm not going to give you the details, but ultimately, you know what it is. It's rough out there. All right. As always, I'm your ally in life. And if there's anything you need from me, let me know. You guys take care.